Ooh, Bad Larry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry, and today's episode is part 4 of 4, concluding the Muir Island Saga. And this is Uncanny X-Men issue number 280, and wow, what a cover by Andy Kubert. I remember this cover was so etched in my mind. Cyclops blasting away, holding the body of unconscious Professor X, the rest of the X-Men in the background, looking forlorn. Oh, what an excellent issue, and I can tell you what, not everybody walks away at the end of this issue. The title of this issue is Pyrrhic Victory. And what I love about these older comics is that it really makes you step up your intellectual English literature game. A Pyrrhic Victory, I tried to give you the best example here. This dog jumping after the bird. Well, he's going to get the bird, but at what cost? So a Pyrrhic Victory means that you may win the battle, but the cost is too great. Was it even worth it? So, now that you know that, let's check out what happened in last issue. Well, Shadow King's body was destroyed by Mystique. He had to find a new host. That host is Legion, and Legion destroyed the whole island in a huge explosion. So now that happened, let's find out the aftermath, and let's kick off this issue, Uncanny X-Men number 280. Let's go! This issue and the next issue of X Factor is really changing the game. It says right here, X-Men and X Factor in a story which will change both teams forever. And that's true. And this is the conclusion of the Shadow King saga, which is really the Muir Island saga. In the aftermath, Professor X is entering the Muir Island, which has been totally decimated by Legion. He's accompanied by 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They're in this armor that protects them from all this psionic energy because with the explosion, there's all this telepathic psionic energy. It would drive them insane. So it's not that it's radiation technically like Chernobyl, but it's more mental radiation that would overtake their minds. So now they're seeing what's what, who survived. They're scoping out the land. As you can tell, this issue again is written by Fabian Nicieza, Chris Claremont again. His last issue was 2 issues ago, so these stories have a whole different feel and vibe. The art is by both Andy Kubert and Stephen Butler. You'll be able to tell the difference. Trust me, there's a distinct difference in panels between Kubert, which is what I prefer, and then the Stephen Butler, which I would say is not as good. But, you got to put the books out. You got to put them out. Anyway, this is an epic kind of splash page. We learn, how did the X-Men and X Factor survive that huge explosion? Well, Jean Grey put everybody in a telepathic, telekinetic bubble that saved them. But obviously that used up a lot of her energy. So now we see Legion, who is being controlled by the Shadow King, has everybody in a telekinetic, telepathic stasis, kind of like webbed up. And Professor X approaches him, and he's like, "Let my people go." And Shadow King's like, "Hell nah, let's get it on, Baldy." I can't believe the audacity Shadow King has calling Jean Grey a cow. Anyway, the 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, they're freaked out. They decide to blast their blasters. Professor X is like, "No, don't do it." And Legion obviously redirects the blast, which incinerates, burns alive both S.H.I.E.L.D. agents right in front of Professor X's face. Dang! Their deaths are overheard by Nick Fury with the epic sunglass and the one blacked out because he's all patchy. He tells the team, gotta inform the victims' families, but there's gonna be repercussions, I'm sure. Nick Fury is kind of furious. He's like, maybe Professor X ain't strong enough to kill and take on this Shadow King. Mystique's like, he's the most powerful telepath on the planet. If not him, then who else? He's like, me. I'm about to load up a nuclear strike on this island. I'm going to toast everybody. If it has to happen, I'm going to take them down. Take them all down. Professor X admits he hasn't never been a super great physical hand-to-hand combatant because why would he need to be? He's the telepath. He takes people's minds over. He doesn't need to fight them hand-to-hand. That's for Wolverine to do. So subsequently, he's getting his ass kicked by Legion currently. Professor X calls out to his son, whatever shard of his personality could still be in there. He's like, I'm going to save him. And then he probes a little bit. He finds, oh, shock. Legion is kind of liking being controlled by the Shadow King. He likes fighting Professor X, his daddy, which is kind of off-putting. You know, Legion got them daddy issues. The problem with Legion is that he's so powerful, but he's also mentally disabled. He's a schizophrenic textbook. And the Shadow King has actually merged his mind back together. So if you were crazy and someone helped you get your mind right, you know, you might like it. So this is why Legion is accepting Shadow King. And he's about to really destroy Professor X. Professor X is like, I'm going to get one last mind burst. And I'm going to take us both out. You know, it may kill me. It'll kill Shadow King. But hey, got to do what we got to do. But before anybody can kill anybody, Legion is hit in the back with a huge lightning strike. It was never explained how Storm survived Legion setting her on fire and her falling from the sky in a huge fireball just a couple issues ago. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. She's here. She blasted Legion in the back. She's coming in, saving the day. And Shadow King says, oh, man, I've got to bounce and recuperate because that lightning strike has really hurt this body. I got to go and patch myself up. So with Legion bouncing, he's going to release his hold on both the X-Men and X-Factor team. The next couple pages are going to be Stephen Butler's art, you can probably tell. So Legion has bounced. He uses some telekinetic energy to burrow his way into a tunnel and get out of there. Basically, end of round one, both parties are going to their corner to rest up a little bit. Storm says that she was injured and out of the battle for a while. Yeah, she was. She got set on fire. How did she come back? The X-Factor and X-Men teams, what you see here, they're free. They're free from the Shadow King's mind control. Cyclops says that he has a plan, or he thinks he knows how they're going to be able to stop the Shadow King. Let's see if that's true. Legion has found his way back into the little lair, and Shadow King, I guess, is talking, saying, you know, I gotta recharge up because Lorna, she is the Nexus, which is powering Shadow King's energy up, and Polaris, Lorna, is telling Legion, man, you gotta fight this Shadow King because your body is dying. This is the problem. When the Shadow King infiltrates a person's body, it starts killing the body. And Legion just slaps her, says, shut the up. I don't care about this body, Legion's body. I'm going to kill Professor X. That's all that matters. If this body dies, I'll find another one. I don't care about this damn body. I'll find someone else. But I'm going to kill Professor X, and that's what I'm going to do. And he sends out a message to all the X-Men and mutants that he still has under mind control, which is obviously Jubilee, Gambit, Strong Guy, Psylocke, Siren, Multiple Man, and Moira McTaggart. Tells them, go attack the X-Men and X-Factor. Give it all you got. Cyclops' plan is that you got to attack the Shadow King on every front. So Professor X is going to fight him in the astral plane. But while he's in the astral plane, his body will be like a little baby, defenseless, just sitting there. So while Professor X has to fight Shadow King on the astral plane, somebody has to sit there and protect him while he's on the real Earth. Jean Grey is going to act as an anchor, like a little link between the astral plane and the real world for Professor X, even though her telepathy is still a little unstable. Other people are going to have to go find the Nexus, which is Polaris, and disrupt the Shadow King's link between this world and the astral plane, and then possibly have to fight Legion, who might be attacking Professor X on the physical plane. So everybody's got a little mission. They're going to try to triple attack the Shadow King in the astral plane, the real world, and through the Nexus. That's the plan. Professor X closes his eyes. He slips into the astral plane, a place that he's super duper duper familiar with, and he thinks himself Arthur with Excalibur, so naturally he armors up, mimicking that kind of style of armor on the astral plane. And Professor X is immediately attacked. It seems like the Shadow King is more powerful than ever, and he's obviously being fed by the hatred that he has spread through the whole world, and being amplified through Polaris, which is making the Shadow King super strong. As evident by the Shadow King's enormous size here in the astral plane, you could see that his plan has worked. The Shadow King's plan has worked to make him so powerful. And again, he is the king of the Shadow Realm, so he's already powerful in itself, but with this hatred that he's spread and being fueled by Polaris, the Shadow King is epically huge and strong. And you could tell, again, this is Excalibur versus the dragon. Professor X thinks that he is Arthur. These stories are always Arthur with Excalibur, the knight defeating the dragon. This is not much different. It's just in modern storytelling. But the Shadow King starts talking trash, saying, hey, remember that time not too long ago when you were a cripple, you couldn't use your legs? Well, I'm going to set them legs on fire, buddy. Meanwhile, on Earth, all X-Factor and Storm and Colossus can do is sit and watch as Professor X's legs are breaking. His actual bones are breaking. His body cannot tell the difference between what's really happening in the real world and the astral plane. The power of the mind is so immense. The pain that he's feeling in the astral plane, he is experiencing here on Earth in reality. So Professor X's legs are breaking, and all that X-Men or an X-Factor can do is sit there and watch and hope that the team being led by Wolverine can stop Polaris and remove her from the Nexus, which will break the link between the Shadow King and the real world. it's really kind of up to them at this point. And this is fun. We have our heroes versus our psychically possessed heroes. Gambit does a sneak attack against Wolverine, but, Wolverine's too tough. He's like, let's get it on, buddy. And Forge says, oh, I hear Siren. Banshee's like, I'm after her. I won't get fooled again by that sneak punch. Multiple Man seems to be everywhere. He's got guns, but just like previously, Iceman ices his ass up, but also traps Wolverine in this little room as well. No problem, Wolverine's got the claws, he can get himself out. If Gambit was in his real mind and not possessed by the Shadow King, I doubt he would take on Wolverine one-on-one like this, all up close and personal, just fighting without even using his powers, because Wolverine is the best at this kind of up close and personal fighting. He's the best at what he does, which is get you pinned down and about to cut your head off, which is what he does here. He's got Gambit pinned down with the two claws on each side of his neck, saying, don't make me pop the third one, bub. You ain't got no kind of regeneration power. I'm about to cut your head off. Professor X is getting worked over. He's getting cooked up by the Shadow King. His bones are literally being crushed in the real world, in the dust smithereens. Marvel Girl tells everyone, hey, enough is enough. We got to do something to help him out or he's going to die. The only answer is that we have to go into the astral plane, help him out. But hopefully no one attacks us while we're in there because we're going to be defenseless. Well, that's when Legion decides to reappear, which is great timing for him, but bad timing for our heroes because he can just attack their defenseless bodies, kill them all. How are they going to get out of this? And just before the Shadow King literally eats Professor X and would definitely kill him in the real world, Cyclops blasts the Shadow King into smithereens. And things are really heating up. Banshee is flying after his daughter Siren when he gets blasted by his girlfriend, Myra McTaggart. He's down, but Forge comes to his rescue and blasts Moira in the back. And as she's knocked out, he injects her with the little serum and the chip that frees her from the Shadow King's control. Moira starts crying, realizing what she's done. She's like, I love you, Banshee. I love you, ginger balls. So now she's free. And where did Forge's mustache go? Okay, hello. Artman, where did his mustache go? Just FYI, he got a mustache. And not too much drama here. Rogue knocks Guido out. Strong Guy, we already know that Rogue can beat Strong Guy pretty easily. And now that she's in her right mind, it's really no difference. She knocks him down. Beast pounces, makes sure that he stays down. Meanwhile, Wolverine is stalking. There's still Jubilation Lee out there who's under mind control. His little sidekick. He's like, hey, Jubilation, I'm on your side. Come here. Let me get a little closer. Whack! Knocks her ass out. It's for her own good, people. It's for her own good. She'll forgive him later on. Our heroes in the astral plane are really pushing the Shadow King back. They're starting to overpower him, but the Shadow King still has Professor X in his clutches. While in the real world, Legion is stalking up to Professor X's unconscious body. Professor X says, do what it takes. I don't care what happens to myself. Just get rid of him. Stop him at all costs. As Iceman takes down Siren gently, we don't want to hurt the lass. He takes his eye off the prize because one of the most deadly foes that are out there, whether she's good or not, Psylocke, she's still under the mind control and possession of the Shadow King. She knifes Iceman's brain with her psi knife and starts attacking our heroes. But Forge does a little maneuver, grabs her hand, and uses it on her own self. So Psylocke psi-knifes her own brain, which is going to obviously release her from the Shadow King's control. So good move, Forge. Glad to see you got your mustache back here. The Earth X-Men have done it, and the Astral Plane X-Factor X-Men have done it. They've defeated the Shadow King. The Nexus has been broken, which means that they were able to free Polaris from the Nexus, which means that now it's just pure chaos. All the energy that the Shadow King was controlling is being released like a hurricane and a monsoon and a tidal wave all in one. The astral plane energy, everyone's swirling around. On Earth, they're swirling around. There's too much energy being released. So Professor X has to guide his X-Men through the astral plane back into the real world because he's the mastermind telepath. But there's a problem. Legion, his own son, he can only save one or the other. His son or his students, the X-Men that are in the astral plane. Well, you know, poor Legion, David. Professor X never really paid him no mind before, so what's going to stop him now? He has to save the many, spare the few. So he has to guide his X-Men back into the real world. Well, Legion's body just slumps. He's going to be in a coma. And here we see the Pyrrhic victory in its finest. Sure, the X-Men and X-Factor have defeated the Shadow King, but at what cost? Well, like I said in the beginning, not everyone is walking away from this victory, which means Professor X is back to being a cripple, like he should be. And Professor X also said he reached out, but right before they came back to Earth, he tried to give a helping hand out to the Shadow King, but the Shadow King refused. He said he'd rather stay in the void of the emptiness of eternity than be redeemed. So that's where the Shadow King went, into the void of the unknown. Meanwhile, Polaris is saved. She's good to go. She's going to need some help, obviously. Jubilation Lee, she snuggled up to Wolverine. Oh, the horror of being on the dark side. So that's where we're ending this little mini 4-part miniseries, Muir Island. Professor X is back to being a cripple. X-Factor and X-Men. Well, we know that in a couple issues, they're going to relaunch both titles, and Cyclops and his X-Factor team are going to rejoin the X-Men. So this is really an end of an era. It is very exciting. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, make a comment, people, and I'll see you real soon. Peace.